Bro.
We're finally here.
Tight shit. Alright, what's going on, LNU duelists? Today I got my boy Steve here, you know what I'm saying? A1 since day one for real.
Yes, sir.
Talk to us, bro. How you feeling?
Hey, man. First of all, I just want to say I'm one of the founding fathers of LNU. Been there since high school. I've been playing a deck recently called Live Twin Spright Runick. Honestly, I've been playing the deck since the Live Twins came out. Then when the Sprites came out, I played that. Then I stopped playing it. But then when the Runicks came out, I was like, why not play with it for a little bit? But honestly, I like the deck. People are sleeping on it. I think it's a very heavy sleeper of a variant of Spright. But otherwise, I think it's really good. Yeah.
All right, let's get into it then, bro.
All right. Oh, how you doing? I heard you're not subscribed to the channel yet. Don't worry, we'll wait. You subscribe? All right, let's continue with the video. All right, so we're gonna start with 3 Lila, 2 Kisakilla, and 1 Frost. Honestly, this is probably the favorite girl of the variant because you're always gonna normal summon her to special summon this one. If you open up with this, I think of her as like an extender, but they're not bad. They each have an effect. This one is when your opponent's declare an attack, burn your opponent for 500. If they declare an attack, you gain 500. And if your opponent adds a card from their deck, except they're in the draw phase, you can banish her and then draw 1 card. And then you also play 2 of the continuous spell Sunny Snitch. This gets to her or even her. And then if you have both these 2, the links, then you could burn your opponent and then you gain 200. So that was it for the twins. For the Sprites, you play 3 blue, 1 jet, 1 red, 1 carrot, and 1 starter. Blue gets you to any of these. Jet gets you into this, which gets you to any of these. And these 2 are honestly kind of the extenders, depending on how your hand is. This could get you protect you from Nib. This could protect you from Imperm if you have Gigantic on field. And then starter is just starter. I feel like no one should really play more than 1 of these because this can already do so much by itself, and this can do so much by itself as well. So really, there's no point of playing 2 or any more than 1. And at the end of the day, it's probably going to get clogged in the extra deck because the extra deck is already kind of super tight.
Makes sense.
That's it for the Sprites. Then the 1 monster we play is the Iblib. Now, I like this. At first, I hated this card because this card was kind of trash. But this deck literally stops Evenly, Lightning Storm. It stops a lot of cards that you have to have no monster on your boards. And I know Catch Tier is no longer a deck right now, but like honestly, this card is still very good because your opponent has to try to out this card because it stops Unchained because then they'll have to try to link it off. You can just pop their normal summon. They can't special summon. They can't do anything while this is on board. But otherwise, I think Ibli's really good in the main. I side it every now and then. Even when I'm going second, I still can bring this on board to my opponent, and then it stops their play because now it's an inconvenience for them.
Serious inconvenience, bro. That card's crazy.
That's it for the monsters. Now for the spells, the runic spells, you play 3 tips, of course, 3 slumbers, 3 freezing curses, 3 flashing fire, 3 destructions, and 2 dispelling. I was playing the Smiting Storm, but honestly, there's a lot of decks nowadays that adds. So like this card is actually pretty good. You can rip a card from their hand and then also banish 2. All these cards are literally just a staple. I was playing 2 destructions at first, but then I was like, destruction is actually kind of crazy for the special summon and then just for the back row hate. Then Flash and Fire and Freezing Curse, Slumber, and Tip literally just speaks for itself. These 2 cards right here, Slumber and Tip. Tip gets into Slumber, and Slumber can literally protect the Iblib, so your opponent has to basically end their turn while you still can just keep banishing their cards from their deck and also just keep that Iblib alive unless like they link it off or tribute it. Otherwise, they cannot crash or pop it, which is incredible and kind of stupid. And then for the last, the Runick spell, you play the 2 fountain. There's 2 fountain. It's semi-limited, but otherwise it's really good, and it works the deck really well. And then the last spell you play is the 2 talents. I was playing Thrust, but then I realized that this deck hardly plays any like normal spell besides like talent, imperm, cards like that. So it's really hard to really play Thrust in the deck when you play like literally just these 2 and then these 3. Otherwise, it's really no point of playing Thrust. But imperm is the only hand trap I play because nowadays a lot of decks just out hand traps, and you just need to know. I feel like imperm is like a solid good choice because it doesn't activate talents, it doesn't activate thrust, it doesn't activate any cards like that. So imperm is just a go-to hand trap. I feel like it should always be in someone's main, let alone like their side. That's it for the main deck. For this extra deck, we play 3 of the pink, 2 of the blue, and 1 Trouble Sunny. I feel like this is standard. I have been considering playing only like 2 pink, but until then, I'm sure I'm just gonna keep it 3, 2, 1. This actually outs towers, which is incredible. You can just banish her and then send 1 Evil Twin from your hand face up in the field to the graveyard, and then you could just send the monster. It doesn't target, doesn't destroy, it just sends it. So this card is really good to out towers. This one, if she's on the field, you could pop a card. If she's on the field, while she's on the field, you could draw 1 card. They really work together.
So let me get this straight. If pink is on the field while blue is on the field, you draw a card?
Yeah, so like both blue and pink have the effect of like if pink is the only one on the field that doesn't have the corresponding sister, you can special summon this one from the graveyard, and then on summon, if she's already on the field, you could pop a card, or and vice versa, activate her effects, special summon her, and then while she's on the field, you get activate to draw a card.
Okay.
Yeah. For your Spright, you play 1 Sprint, and then you play 1 Gigantic. Sprint is because there's gonna be times where your hand is gonna look kind of iffy, so like you have to either send the pink or you have to send the blue live twins, so then you could continue with your plays. And then Gigantic literally gets to everything else, including the Ibleed, which as soon as people see the Ibleed, they're just like, oh boy. And then, that's, GG. There's been a funny time at a tournament where I had these 2 on board, and then I just slapped them together and then made this big old boy, and then my opponent was like, he had to read Gigantic. He was like, oh wow, I thought you can only use 1. And it was like, no, you could actually use just Link 2s as materials, which is really crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Alright, and then for your Link 2s, you play 1 IP and 1 Dark. I started recently playing Dark because I realized there's a lot of decks out there that are still playing like Dark monsters, like purely still playing Dark monsters, which it's not really get you anything, but it's still pretty good. It gets you to like, you can take their Unchained, you take their Dragon Link monsters, you take like a lot of cards. I didn't realize how there's a lot of cards out there that still play like dark monsters, and like with this one, like if it gets destroyed, you could just literally add the her, because if 15 less defense. So in case like your board is completely wiped, you can just add her and then continue with your plays. And then IP is literally just IP can get you to so much, because IP can literally get you into this guy right here, Griffin. A lot of people either know Griffin and they start shaking in their boots, or they don't know Griffin and then they have to keep reading Griffin over and over again. Basically what Griffin says is monsters cannot activate their effects unless they are linked to the link. So if you have this card and these two together, literally, that they can activate their effects then, and then your opponent just sitting there trying to out a Griffin using whatever source that they can. And with IP, they can just protect it from card destruction, so the only way they can get to it is by battle. And there's a lot of cards like Slumber, like I said, tip into Slumber or just Slumber to target your Griffin, and then it can be destroyed by battle, so your opponent's literally trying to out this card and they really can't. And then for the last 4, we play the 2 Hugins and the 1 Gary. Hugin is self-explanatory for protection of your fountain and also just for your level 2 Link 2 climb. And then Gary is just an interruption / getting your fountain back. And then the last card you play is Mannequin Cat. I've been a hater of this card because this card, honestly, I saw no hype in this card. I saw nothing good about this card except being a 2K beater for a rank 2. But honestly, after reading it and actually trying to understand the card, it's actually not bad at all, because you can actually go into stuff in your deck that is just oh wow, I actually can do that, and you don't be expecting it because it actually does save you a lot. So yeah, can't really hate on this card. I still don't like it per se, but it's one of the best rank 2s out there.
All right, my man. And again, I appreciate you coming out for the deck profile. You got any shout-outs or?
Yeah, shout-outs to LNU Duelist for having me on here. It's been my day 1, A1, even when you first started making the channel. Thank you for letting me borrow the cards, the Spright and Runick stuff. I really appreciate it for letting me test out this deck. And then shout out to my mom for letting me be me and let me play this wonderful game called Yu-Gi-Oh!